What if I told you there's a place where you can meet wild mountain gorillas in the morning, raft down the Nile River by noon, and watch the sunset over peaceful lakes and ancient volcanoes by night? This place exists, and it's called Uganda. In this video, we're taking you inside one of Africa's most surprising and unforgettable countries. Uganda isn't just another travel destination. It's a mix of wild nature, rich culture, and real stories that most tourists completely miss. Let's start on what makes Uganda the Pearl of Africa. And why is the world finally paying attention? What if you could lock eyes with a mountain gorilla by sunrise and kayak at the source of the Nile before lunch? That's not a fantasy, it's just a regular morning in Uganda. Nestled in East Africa, Uganda is often overlooked for more publicized neighbors like Kenya or Tanzania. But those who make the trip quickly understand why Winston Churchill called it the Pearl of Africa. The name wasn't just poetic flattery. He was struck by its lush forests, expansive savannas, sparkling lakes, and some of the friendliest people on the continent. Geographically, Uganda punches well above its weight. It's bordered by Kenya, South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Rwanda, and Tanzania. Lake Victoria, Africa's largest lake and the source of the Nile River, sprawls across its southern border. From the misty peaks of the Rwenzori Mountains in the west to the arid plains of Karamoja in the northeast, Uganda packs nearly every African ecosystem into its borders. But Uganda isn't just about landscapes. It's a living mosaic of culture. The country is home to over 50 distinct ethnic groups, each with its own language, traditions, and stories. From the Buganda kingdom that still plays a role in politics and culture, to the ancient pastoral communities of Karamoja, Uganda is a country where the past and present live side by side. Biodiversity is another point of pride. Uganda occupies just 0.2% of the world's landmass, but holds over 11% of the world's bird species and more than half of the world's remaining mountain gorillas. Whether it's chimp trekking in Kibale or watching the shoebill in Mabamba Swamp, Uganda is a paradise for eco-travelers and wildlife photographers. But even paradise has its struggles. Uganda's history is marked by painful scars. Colonial exploitation, civil wars, and the brutal dictatorship of Idi Amin in the 1970s left deep wounds. Although the country has made huge strides in rebuilding, issues like poverty, infrastructure gaps, and human rights challenges still exist, especially in rural areas. Yet there's resilience in the air. Over the last 2 decades, Uganda has embraced relative political stability, grown its tourism sector, and nurtured a young, tech-savvy population. Kampala, the capital, is buzzing with startups, creative energy, and modern urban flair. Even as its chaotic traffic reminds you, you're still in East Africa. For all its complexities, Uganda isn't a country you just visit. It's one you experience. It's a place that rewards curiosity and compassion. The more open you are to understanding its layers, both beautiful and broken, the more it gives back. And that's what this journey is about. In the chapters that follow, we'll walk the misty forests, hike volcanic peaks, dive into local myths, and hear voices from Uganda's past and present. From wildlife wonders to cultural wisdom, you're about to discover why Uganda is more than a destination. It's a revelation. Up next, can looking into a gorilla's eyes change the way you see the world? Tucked deep in the green hills of southwestern Uganda is a place unlike anywhere else on Earth, Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. This misty forest is thick with tall trees, winding vines, and the sounds of birds and wildlife. It's also one of the last safe homes for one of the world's most incredible animals, the mountain gorilla. Bwindi is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and holds nearly half of the world's remaining mountain gorillas. There are fewer than 1,100 left in the wild, and about half of them live here. Going on a gorilla trek in Bwindi isn't easy. The hikes are long, steep, and often muddy. But those who take the journey say it's worth every step. Because once you stand just a few feet away from a giant silverback and his family, everything else fades. You make eye contact, and it's like looking into a mirror. These gorillas share about 98% of our DNA, and in that quiet moment, it feels like they understand you too. Many travelers say it's a life-changing experience, something they never forget. The money from gorilla trekking permits, about $700 per person, helps protect these animals and supports local communities. It's a form of ecotourism that tries to protect nature while also helping the people who live nearby. But it's not a perfect system. Some people wonder, are the communities around the park truly benefiting? And how much human contact is safe for the gorillas? Take the Batwa people, for example. They are indigenous forest dwellers who once lived freely in these woods. But when Bwindi became a protected park, the Batwa were pushed out. Their homes, hunting grounds, and way of life were suddenly off limits. Today, many Batwa live in poverty and face deep challenges. Some are part of the tourism industry, sharing their songs, stories, and traditional knowledge with visitors. But even then, they often have little control over how tourism is run or who profits from it. Bwindi isn't just about the gorillas. It's a reminder of how delicate everything is, from the ancient forest itself to the lives of the people and animals who depend on it. Every visit to Bwindi invites us to think, who is conservation really for? And how do we protect both nature and the people who have always lived alongside it? For now, the gorillas are being watched over, studied, and cared for. But their future depends on more than just park rangers and tourists. It depends on how the world sees them, how we choose to travel, and how well we support the people who call this land home. Because in Bwindi, it's not just us watching the wildlife. The wild is watching us too. Why does this dreamy lake hide one of Uganda's darkest secrets? Hidden in the green, hilly highlands of southwestern Uganda is Lake Bunyonyi, a place so peaceful and beautiful, it feels like a dream. The lake is calm and clear, surrounded by hills carved into steps for farming. Scattered across the water are 29 small islands, each one green and unique, like little jewels floating on a blanket of deep blue. The name Bunyonyi means place of many little birds, and it lives up to that name. With over 200 bird species chirping and flying around, it's a paradise for birdwatchers and nature lovers. People often call Lake Bunyonyi one of the most beautiful lakes in all of Africa. And unlike many other lakes, it's free from bilharzia, a disease found in freshwater, which means it's safe to swim in. Travelers come here to relax, paddle in traditional dugout canoes, take quiet hikes, and breathe in the stillness. Many couples even choose Bunyonyi as a honeymoon spot because of its romantic and peaceful setting. But behind this calm beauty is a story that's hard to forget. One of the small islands in the lake is called Akampen, or Punishment Island. Long ago, it was used by the Bakiga people to punish young women who became pregnant before marriage. These women were taken to the island and left there alone, without food, shelter, or hope. Many died from hunger or the cold. It was meant to shame them and warn others not to break the rules. Only if a man came to rescue the woman, usually to make her his wife, would she survive. It was a harsh practice, and although it no longer happens today, the pain it caused still echoes in the community. Locals still share stories about ghosts and sorrow tied to that island. Some say you can feel the sadness in the air if you visit. Thankfully, the people living around Lake Bunyonyi are building a new future. Many families now run ecotourism businesses, offering simple guest houses, boat rides, and cultural experiences. They welcome visitors and proudly share their stories and traditions. Some groups are even working to record and teach the region's oral history, turning painful memories into lessons for younger generations. The lake itself is still a lifeline. People fish its waters, grow crops on the hills, and use canoes to get around. Some schools are on the islands, and children paddle across the lake just to attend class. But there are also problems. Soil erosion, overfarming, and a growing population are putting pressure on this delicate ecosystem. The beauty of Bunyonyi needs care and protection to survive. Lake Bunyonyi is more than just a pretty view. It's a place full of contrasts. Peaceful, but with a painful past. Serene, but facing real challenges. It teaches visitors an important lesson. Sometimes the most beautiful places hold the deepest stories. When people visit Bunyonyi, they often come for the quiet. But they leave with a deeper understanding of how strong communities can grow from hurt and how nature can heal when people care for it. In the reflection of the lake's clear waters, you don't just see the sky. You see a story of survival, memory, and hope. Is Jinja the wildest town in East Africa? If you're looking for thrill, fun, and a whole lot of heart, welcome to Jinja, one of the most exciting towns in Uganda. Just a few hours' drive from the capital city, Kampala, Jinja is known as the adventure capital of East Africa. It's where Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa, narrows and gives birth to the River Nile, one of the longest and most legendary rivers in the world. And right where the Nile begins, Jinja comes alive with energy, movement, and stories. The biggest reason people visit Jinja is for the adventure. Whitewater rafting here is world famous. The river has powerful rapids that crash and spin, creating an unforgettable ride for those who are brave enough to hop in. It's wild, loud, and thrilling, definitely not something you do every day. But Jinja has more than just rafting. You can jump off a platform over the Nile in a heart-pounding bungee jump, ride a quad bike through muddy countryside paths, or paddle a kayak along the river's calmer stretches. Some come for the rush, others for the peace, but all come to feel something real. And yet, Jinja's magic isn't just about adrenaline. The town has a deep history. During the British colonial era, it was a busy trading post. You can still see some of the old red brick buildings from that time, and there's even a cricket oval in the middle of town. Jinja was once home to a large Indian community that played a big role in its growth. But during the 1970s, under the rule of Idi Amin, many Indians were forced to leave, and the town lost much of its energy and charm. Shops closed, and buildings were left empty. For a while, it felt like Jinja's best days were behind it. But today, Jinja is buzzing again. Tourism has breathed new life into the town. Markets are full of crafts and color. Music drifts from local cafes, and visitors from around the world come to enjoy the scenery and culture. Lodges, guest houses, and tour companies, many of them run by locals, have created jobs and opportunities. One of the biggest events in town is the Nyega Nyega Festival, a huge celebration of music and culture that brings thousands of people together to dance, share stories, and connect. During the festival, the town bursts with life, rhythm, and joy. Still, not everything is easy. The building of hydroelectric dams like the Bujagali Dam has helped bring electricity to Uganda, but it has also changed parts of the river and affected fishing communities. Some worry that as tourism and development grow, the natural beauty and traditional ways of life might be lost. Jinja stands at a crossroads, trying to grow while holding on to the things that make it special. Despite these challenges, there's no denying that Jinja has a spirit all its own. When you stand at the edge of the Nile, watching the water begin its long journey across Africa, you feel it. The river is powerful, the air is electric, and the town feels alive in a way few places do. Jinja is not quiet. It's not polished, but it's real, wild, and full of heart. So is Jinja the wildest town in East Africa? Probably. But it's also one of the most unforgettable. Where nature puts on a show, people live with passion, and adventure is always just around the corner. What happens when you travel? So far, you find Africa unfiltered. Way up in the far northeast corner of Uganda, far from the busy roads, tourist buses, and popular safari parks, you'll find one of Africa's best-kept secrets: Kidipo Valley National Park. This park doesn't just feel wild. It is wild. It's wide and open, quiet and raw. The kind of place where you can look out across the land and see nothing but golden grass, far-off mountains, and maybe a single elephant or giraffe walking through the silence. Unlike the safari parks in Kenya or Tanzania, Kidipo is still largely untouched by mass tourism. There are no crowds, no traffic jams of land cruisers, and no shops selling souvenirs at every corner. This is the kind of place where you feel small in the best way possible, surrounded by nature without distractions. Here, the wildlife still moves freely, just as it has for centuries. You might see herds of buffalo, elephants, cheetahs, or even lions. Kidipo is the only place in Uganda where you can spot ostriches in the wild, and if you're really lucky, you might see a tree-climbing lion, a rare and amazing sight. But Kidipo's beauty isn't just about the animals. It's also about the people who live here, the Karimojong. This community has called this land home for hundreds of years. Their lives revolve around cattle, which aren't just animals to them. They represent wealth, honor, and survival. The Karimojong are known for their colorful clothing, handmade beadwork, and traditional body art. Their way of life is different from modern cities, but it's rich with meaning, culture, and strength. Life in this part of Uganda isn't easy, though. Karamoja is one of the most remote and underdeveloped regions in the country. Roads are rough, schools and hospitals are few, and many families struggle to meet basic needs. For years, the Karimojong were overlooked by the government and misunderstood by outsiders. On top of that, they now face new challenges: climate change, shrinking grazing lands, and pressures to change their traditional ways of life. Tourism has brought some new hope, but also new problems. When done right, it gives local people jobs, income, and a way to share their culture with the world. But when done poorly, it can feel like an invasion. That's why ethical tourism is so important here. Travelers need to be mindful, respectful, and willing to learn, not just to take photos. Local guides, family-owned lodges, and community-run programs are key to making sure the benefits of tourism stay with the people who live here. Kidepo isn't for those looking for luxury hotels or Wi-Fi on every corner. It's real, rugged, and unforgettable. There are no fences around the animals. There's no show being put on. What you see is what you get. And what you get is Africa, unfiltered and full of soul. For those willing to go the extra mile, literally, it's a journey that changes how you see the world. In Kidepo, you feel something deeper. You feel the land's power, the people's pride, and the wild rhythm of life that doesn't need to be polished to be perfect. So if you're looking for a safari experience that's different, something quieter, richer, and more real, Kidepo might just be the place your heart didn't know it was searching for. How do glaciers survive on the equator? And what happens when they don't? It might sound impossible, but in the heart of Africa, right near the equator, you'll find glaciers. Real ones. Frozen, ancient, and clinging to the peaks of Uganda's Rwenzori Mountains, also known as the Mountains of the Moon. That nickname was given by early Greek mapmakers who had only heard of these mysterious, cloud-covered peaks through stories. They didn't have exact maps, but they imagined a place so high and strange that it could be the source of the Nile. And in many ways, they were right. The Rwenzori Mountains rise up along Uganda's western border with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Unlike the more famous Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Kenya, the Rwenzoris are wild, remote, and rarely crowded with tourists. That's partly because they're harder to climb. The tallest peak, Mount Stanley, reaches over 5,100 meters, more than 16,700 feet. Even more amazing, its top is covered in glaciers, or sheets of ice, despite the fact that it sits almost right on the equator. It's one of the few places in the world where you can find snow so close to the tropics. Climbing these mountains is like stepping into a fantasy world. The paths twist through fog, thick forests, and strange-looking plants, like giant lobelias, mossy ground that feels like a sponge, and tall, alien-like trees that seem pulled from a movie. It's a magical landscape that feels more like a dream than real life. But this dream is fading. The glaciers are melting, and fast. Scientists believe that if the planet keeps warming, the Rwenzori glaciers could disappear entirely in just a few decades. These glaciers may seem distant, but they play a very real role in people's lives. They feed rivers that bring water for farming, drinking, and electricity to communities far below. Without that water, thousands of families could struggle to grow crops, run small businesses, or even find clean water to drink. And it's not just about water. These mountains are also sacred. The Bakonzo people, who live on the lower slopes of the Rwenzoris, see the peaks as the home of their gods. They have passed down stories, songs, and spiritual traditions for generations. Some parts of the forest are considered holy. Even the way they farm and live is shaped by the rhythms of the mountains. For the Bakonzo, the glaciers are more than ice. They are a living part of their identity. Trekking through the Rwenzoris isn't easy. Hikes can last 7 to 12 days, and the paths are steep, slippery, and cold. You need both physical strength and mental toughness. But the reward is worth it. Powerful waterfalls, rare animals like colobus monkeys and bright chameleons, and stretches of silence so deep you can hear your own breath. Along the way, local guides, mostly Bakonzo men and women, lead the treks. They know the land better than anyone. They understand the changing weather, the meaning of sacred places, and the hidden dangers. Many of these guides rely on this work to support their families, and tourism provides much-needed income in a region where jobs are hard to find. But even this kind of tourism has limits. If the glaciers vanish, fewer people may come. And if fewer people visit, less money goes to the communities that help protect these mountains. It's a difficult balance, protecting nature while still making it possible for others to witness it. The Ruwenzoris challenge more than just your body. They challenge how you see the world. They make you realize that climate change isn't just something happening far away. It's real, it's visible, and it's happening in some of the most magical, meaningful places on Earth. If the glaciers melt, it won't just be a loss of ice. It will be a loss of culture, of water, of identity. These frozen peaks are calling, not just to adventurers, but to people who care. People who understand that protecting the Earth means protecting everything connected to it, from mountaintops to the communities living below. Is Kampala the loudest, most beautiful chaos you'll ever love? Welcome to Kampala, the fast-growing and energetic capital city of Uganda. Sitting on a series of green hills right next to Lake Victoria, this city is full of contrasts. It's old and new, messy and magical, loud and full of life. Some people say it's chaotic, others say it's charming, but most who visit agree it's unforgettable. With over 3.5 million people living here, Kampala is one of the busiest cities in East Africa. The streets are always buzzing. On one corner, you might see someone flipping chapati at a roadside stall while a boda boda motorcycle taxi zips by carrying 3 passengers and a chicken. On another, a shiny office building houses a tech startup working on mobile apps or online banking. Kampala is full of surprises, and it doesn't slow down for anyone. The sounds of the city are everywhere. Church choirs singing early in the morning, car horns during traffic jams, and Afrobeat music blasting from small shops and street corners. It can be overwhelming, especially if it's your first time, but it can also feel exciting and alive. Kampala is more than just a city. It's the cultural and political heart of Uganda. It's home to the Buganda Kingdom, one of the oldest and most powerful traditional kingdoms in East Africa. The Kasubi tombs, a sacred burial site for Buganda kings, is also here and recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. At the same time, Uganda's modern government operates from Parliament Hill, showing how traditional leadership and modern democracy coexist in this space. People from all over Uganda move to Kampala for school, jobs, and new opportunities. The city is full of different languages, clothes, foods, and customs. It's a true melting pot. And with one of the youngest populations in the world, Kampala is bursting with energy and new ideas. Young people are building businesses, creating music, designing apps, and shaping the future. That's why some call it East Africa's tech and innovation hub. Of course, the city has its problems. Traffic jams are long and frustrating. Electricity outages happen often. And many neighborhoods struggle with poor sanitation and crowded living conditions. There's also a big gap between rich and poor, with luxury apartments sitting just blocks away from crowded informal settlements. These challenges are real and growing. But despite all that, Kampala doesn't stop. It thrives. Street food like Rolexes, a rolled egg and chapati snack, is sold day and night to everyone from students to business executives. Local markets overflow with fruits, fabrics, and second-hand clothes. And when the sun sets, the city comes alive in a whole new way. Kampala's nightlife is legendary, with music, dancing, and open-air bars that stay busy until morning. Local stars like Eddie Kenzo and Sheba Karungi have taken the music of Kampala to the world stage, mixing traditional sounds with modern beats. Kampala isn't trying to be perfect. It's not a city that hides its flaws or smooths out the edges. But if you take the time to walk its streets, try its food, and talk to its people, you'll start to feel its rhythm. It's a city full of hope, creativity, and grit. Beneath the noise, the traffic, and the hustle, you'll hear something powerful, the heartbeat of a country rising, one beat at a time. Kampala may not be polished, but it's bold, alive, and unforgettable. And if you let it, this loud, beautiful chaos might just steal your heart. Can a waterfall, a coffee bean, and an ancient volcano teach you about resilience? On the eastern edge of Uganda, where the land rises into ancient volcanic slopes, you'll find Saipi Falls, a trio of waterfalls tumbling down the base of Mount Elgon, one of Africa's oldest and largest extinct volcanoes. The region is cooler, quieter, and often overlooked, but it offers some of the most breathtaking vistas in the country. The Saipi Falls are not just scenic, they're sacred to many locals. The tallest drop is over 100 meters, and you can hike to multiple viewpoints, each revealing a new angle of Uganda's natural drama. Hikes vary from gentle walks through coffee plantations to steep climbs that demand grit. For the brave, abseiling beside the falls offers a literal plunge into adventure. Mount Elgon itself was once Africa's highest peak before erosion wore it down. Today, it still towers at over 4,300 meters, with calderas, caves, and even ancient lava tubes. The mountain is rich in biodiversity and far less crowded than the Rwenzori's or Kilimanjaro. It's a hiker's dream and a botanist's playground. The volcanic soil here isn't just fertile for flowers, it's world famous for Arabica coffee. Grown between 1,600 and 1,900 meters above sea level, Sipi's beans are hand-picked and sun-dried by local farmers, many of whom are part of smallholder cooperatives. Visitors can join coffee tours where you follow the bean from the tree to the cup, grinding and roasting your own brew the traditional way. But even paradise has its pressures. Climate change is altering rainfall patterns, which threatens the future of coffee farming in the region. Landslides have become more common, and some farming communities have seen reduced yields. Initiatives are underway to promote sustainable farming, plant more trees, and diversify crops. But the challenge is ongoing. Beyond the farms, there are cultural treasures. Nearby caves were once used as ancient shelters and later as hideouts during conflicts. Local guides often share folklore passed down through generations, giving voice to the mountain's spirit and memory. Whether you come to Sipi for the hikes, the coffee, or the waterfalls, one thing is clear. This place is about rhythm. The rhythm of cascading water. The rhythm of hands picking coffee. The rhythm of a slower, more grounded way of life. In Sipi, nature and culture pour together like water-down stone. Are Uganda's oldest cultures fighting to be seen or disappearing before our eyes? In Uganda, culture isn't something you just read about in a book or see behind glass in a museum. It's part of everyday life. You hear it in songs, see it in dances, taste it in the food, and feel it in the stories passed down from grandparents to grandchildren. Two places that show this living, breathing culture best are Karamoja in the northeast and Kisoro in the southwest. These regions couldn't look more different, but both are home to some of Uganda's oldest and most deeply rooted communities. Karamoja is a dry, wide, open land with golden grasses, dusty roads, and far horizons. For years, outsiders painted it as dangerous or behind the times. But that view misses the truth. The Karimojong people who live here have a strong and proud culture built around cattle, family, and tradition. For them, cattle are not just animals, they are part of life. They represent wealth, respect, and even love. In Karamoja, young boys still go through traditional ceremonies to become men, and elders still gather in groups to make important decisions for their communities. But life in Karamoja is not without struggle. The region has faced years of neglect, especially from colonial governments and even modern leaders. Cattle raids and fights over land used to be common, but things are starting to change. Disarmament efforts and peace programs have helped reduce violence. Still, challenges remain. Modern laws, national parks, and conservation rules sometimes clash with the Karimojong's way of life, especially when land is taken or restricted without their full say. This leads to serious concerns about land rights, displacement, and survival of their culture. Far from Karamoja, the landscape of Kisoro is completely different. Here you'll find green hills, volcanoes, and thick forests. It's a stunning part of Uganda, bordering both Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Kisoro is also close to Magahinga Gorilla National Park, where tourists come to see mountain gorillas. But this beauty hides a hard truth for the Batwa people, who once lived freely in the forests. The Batwa are one of the oldest communities in the region. For generations, they survived as hunters and gatherers, living in harmony with nature. But when conservation programs turned their forest homes into protected parks, they were forced out. Today, many Batwa live in deep poverty. They lost not only their land, but also their identity and the freedom to live the way they always had. Many still feel forgotten and ignored. Even so, both Karamoja and Kisoro are places of hope and strength. Travelers who visit these regions with open hearts can take part in cultural experiences that are meaningful and real. In Karamoja, you can stay with local families, learn how they care for cattle, sing traditional songs, and understand how they survive in harsh conditions. In Kisoro, Batwa guides lead walks, tell stories, share their dances, and sell handmade crafts, helping create jobs and build pride in their culture again. But here's the important part. These are not shows. These are not performances for tourists. These are real communities with real lives. Visiting them must come with respect. That means listening more than speaking, being kind and curious, and always asking how your visit can help rather than harm. Karamoja and Kisoro might be far apart on the map, but they share something powerful: resilience. They've faced hardship, change, and loss, but they keep holding on to who they are. These communities remind us that protecting culture is just as important as protecting nature. Because the forests, the animals, and the land, they all mean more when the people who live with them are supported too. So when you visit Uganda, don't just go for the animals or the landscapes. Go to hear the voices of its people. Because some of the richest stories are told not in guidebooks, but around campfires, under stars, and in the quiet strength of cultures that refuse to disappear. Think you're ready for Uganda? Are you prepared for the truth beyond the beauty of this place? Before you book your flight, there are some key things to know that can shape your experience, possibly even save you from trouble. Uganda is welcoming, warm, and unforgettable, but it's also layered and complex. To enjoy it fully, you'll need more than just a backpack. You'll need awareness, respect, and a little local wisdom. First, the logistics. Most travelers need a visa to enter Uganda, which you can apply for online via the official Uganda e-visa portal. You'll also need proof of yellow fever vaccination. No exceptions. Your passport should have at least 6 months of validity, and travel insurance is highly recommended. Some destinations like Bwindi or Kidipo require advance bookings and permits, especially for gorilla or chimpanzee trekking. Currency-wise, Uganda uses the Ugandan shilling, UGX. ATMs are available in cities, but not always reliable in remote areas. Uganda is rapidly embracing mobile money, especially through MTN and AIRTEL networks. In fact, many locals pay bills, shop, and even book transport via mobile money. If you plan to stay a while or explore beyond the tourist trail, getting a local SIM card can make your trip much smoother. Health and safety are essential. While Uganda has made huge strides in healthcare, access can be limited in rural areas. Malaria is present year-round, so pack anti-malarials, insect repellent, and long-sleeved clothing. Water is not always safe to drink, so carry purification tablets or stick to bottled water. In terms of political stability, Uganda is relatively safe for travelers, but not without risks. Protests can arise during election periods, and police presence is heavy in urban areas. LGBTQ+ travelers should exercise caution, as homosexuality is criminalized in Uganda, and public discussions on the topic can be controversial or even dangerous. Cultural etiquette matters deeply. Ugandans are warm and respectful, and expect the same in return. Greetings are important. Shaking hands, bowing slightly, or even kneeling in rural areas, especially for women, are all signs of respect. Dress modestly, especially in religious or traditional areas. When photographing people, always ask first. Many elders, in particular, see photography without consent as intrusive or disrespectful. If you're invited into someone's home, accept food or drink, even if just symbolically. It's a gesture of hospitality. Elders are revered, and children are taught to respect their elders from a young age. Don't raise your voice or lose your temper in public. It's seen as deeply impolite. And finally, slow down. Uganda doesn't run on Western time. Whether it's transport delays, meal service, or scheduling, things move at their own pace. Embrace it. You didn't come here for perfection, you came for presence. Uganda will welcome you with open arms, stunning landscapes, and unforgettable people. But it's not for the unprepared. Come informed, come curious, come respectful. If you do, Uganda won't just change your Instagram, it may just change your life. So, after everything we've seen, are you still thinking Uganda is just another travel stop? From wild rivers and misty mountains, to ancient cultures and stories that stay with you long after you leave. Uganda isn't a trip, it's a whole experience. If you're the kind of traveler who craves meaning and adventure, this is your sign to look beyond the usual and dive into something deeper. And hey, if this video opened your eyes or made you curious about exploring places that don't always make the front page, hit that subscribe button. We've got more real, raw, and unforgettable destinations coming up next.